The village of Duskwind was known for its quiet isolation, nestled deep in the forest, where tall pines whispered secrets in the cold night breeze. But beneath the peaceful facade, the people harbored a fear they rarely spoke of aloud. Children went missing. Every few years, without fail, a child would vanish, leaving behind only whispers of howling wolves in the wind. One October evening, under the shadow of a blood moon, young Adam, no more than 7, went missing. His parents searched frantically, shouting his name into the woods, but the only answer was the unsettling echo of the trees. Rumors spread swiftly that the curse had returned, but this time, something felt different, darker, more malevolent. At the edge of the forest stood a derelict house that the villagers avoided. They called it the Wolf's Den, though no one could remember how the name originated. Some said it was once a haven for hunters, others believed it belonged to something more sinister. The night Adam vanished, a few brave souls decided to investigate the place they had long feared. The group arrived at the house just as the moon reached its highest point, its crimson light casting eerie shadows through the broken windows. Inside, they found a strange sight: a circle of bones scattered around the floor, arranged in patterns that no one could understand. Dark stains marked the ground, and the air reeked of decay. Suddenly, a soft sound broke the silence: childlike giggles. The group froze, eyes widening in terror. Out of the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, with eyes that glowed a deep, predatory yellow. The shapeshifter stepped forward, revealing itself as something neither man nor beast. Its skin rippled, fur breaking through patches of flesh, its teeth gleaming in the pale moonlight. It grinned, but behind it, they saw Adam along with others, children who had been missing for years. They were alive, but not the same. Their eyes, too, glowed with that same feral light, their lips curling into disturbing, wolfish smiles. They weren't victims, they were part of the pack. The villagers turned to flee, but one by one, they were dragged back into the darkness by unseen claws. As the moon climbed higher, howls filled the air, echoing through the trees. Duskwind would never know peace again, but in the depths of the forest, whispers spread that the wolves were not finished. They had only begun to grow their numbers. Soon, they would need more children, more souls to join their pack. The hunt would continue, and Duskwind would never see them coming, until it was too late. Weeks passed after the night of Adam's disappearance, and the village of Duskwind had fallen into a state of restless fear. No one spoke openly about what had happened, but everyone knew the children were gone, and no one dared venture into the forest anymore. The howls, once distant and rare, now echoed nightly, louder and more frequent, as if mocking the villagers. Adam's parents, still haunted by grief, refused to believe their son was truly lost. His mother, Ellen, had taken to wandering the outskirts of the village every night, eyes fixed on the line where the trees met the fields, waiting for some sign, any sign, that Adam might return. It was on one of these nights, under a crescent moon, that she heard a voice, soft, distant, and unmistakably her son's. "Mom, come find me." She froze, her heart pounding. The voice seemed to drift from the woods, carried by the wind. Desperation overtook caution, and before she knew it, she was running toward the sound, the dark woods swallowing her whole. Deep in the forest, Ellen followed the voice, calling for Adam, her voice cracking with hope and terror. The further she went, the colder the air became, until she found herself in a small clearing. In the center stood a tree, twisted and ancient, its bark blackened as if scorched by fire. Beneath its gnarled roots, Ellen spotted something: a small, tattered piece of Adam's shirt. Her breath caught in her throat. She reached for it, but as her fingers touched the fabric, a growl rumbled behind her. She spun around, her heart sinking. Standing at the edge of the clearing was a figure, half hidden by shadow, its eyes glowing yellow in the moonlight. It wasn't a full Wolf, nor a human. It was one of the children, transformed, its body twisted by dark magic, its once innocent face now feral and cruel. It grinned at her, baring sharp teeth. "They belong to us now," the child Wolf growled. "You'll never take him back." Ellen stumbled backward, fear overtaking her. But before she could run, the child vanished into the trees, leaving behind only the eerie sound of laughter. As Ellen turned to flee, she caught sight of something etched into the bark of the twisted tree. It was a symbol intricate, ancient, and pulsing faintly with a sickly green light. She didn't recognize it, but something about it sent a chill down her spine. She knew this was the key. Whatever had cursed the children, whatever dark power held them, it was connected to this symbol. Ellen raced back to the village, desperate to find answers. She sought out an old man named Elias, a recluse who lived on the outskirts of Duskwind and was rumored to know ancient lore. When she showed him the symbol, his face paled. He whispered of an old legend, one that spoke of a pact made centuries ago with the creatures of the forest werewolves who required a tribute of children in exchange for protection from far greater evils. But the pact had been forgotten, and the wolves were no longer content with the arrangement. They had taken more than their due, corrupted by a hunger that had grown beyond control. And now, they were preparing for something worse, a full transformation of the children, to turn them into their kind forever. Elias warned Ellen that the symbol was a binding rune, a marker of the curse, but it could also be a doorway. If she could find the source of the rune's power, she might be able to break the curse, but it would require venturing deep into the heart of the wolves' domain. As Ellen prepared to confront the darkness, she realized she wasn't just fighting to save her son. The wolves were preparing for something larger, something far more terrifying. The children they had taken were only the beginning. The wolves were growing in strength, and soon, they would come for more than just Duskwind. Ellen knew the risk, but the thought of Adam, lost in the clutches of those twisted creatures, left her no choice. Armed with nothing but a lantern and a small silver dagger Elias had given her, though he warned it might not be enough, she ventured into the forest once again, deeper than she'd ever dared before. The night was unnaturally quiet, as if even the forest itself was holding its breath. Every snap of a twig made Ellen flinch, her heart racing as shadows seemed to move on the edges of her vision. After hours of walking, she found it. The ancient stone altar Elias had spoken of, hidden in a clearing ringed by trees so tall and dark they seemed to blot out the sky. The air around it was thick with a foul energy, the same twisted rune she'd seen before carved into the stone. But she wasn't alone. From the shadows, they emerged children, no longer human, their eyes glowing in the darkness. Adam was among them, his face pale, his body contorted into a monstrous form. He looked at her with a mixture of recognition and hunger. "Adam," she whispered, her voice breaking, "please, come back with me." But the boy tilted his head, eyes narrowing. "It's too late, Mom. They've made us part of them now." His voice was hollow, distant, as if spoken from somewhere far away. "You shouldn't have come." Behind him, the werewolves emerged, hulking beasts, their fur matted, their eyes blazing with an unholy light. The leader stepped forward, its massive form towering over Ellen. It spoke in a deep, guttural voice. "You came to break the curse, but there is no curse, only destiny. Your son, like the others, belongs to us now. And soon, so will you." Ellen's hand trembled as she raised the dagger, her eyes fixed on Adam's twisted face. She couldn't let them take him. Not fully. With a cry of anguish, she lunged at the leader, stabbing the silver blade into its chest. The beast howled, but the wound barely slowed it down. It tore the dagger from its flesh as if it were nothing more than a splinter, its eyes narrowing in fury. With a single swipe, it knocked Ellen to the ground, her body crashing into the stone altar. As she struggled to get up, the leader growled, "You thought you could stop us. You're nothing but prey." Ellen's vision blurred as she saw Adam approach, his wolfish grin wide and unnatural. "We'll be together soon, Mom. Forever," he whispered, kneeling beside her. In one swift motion, the leader raised its clawed hand and brought it down. The forest fell silent. The village of Duskwind awoke the next morning to a grim realization. Ellen was gone, just like the others. The howls in the forest had grown quieter, but there was an ominous sense that it wasn't over. The villagers boarded up their homes, whispered prayers to gods they no longer believed in, but none dared speak of what they all knew. The werewolves had won. Children still vanished, though less frequently. The village carried on, haunted by the knowledge that the forest was no longer theirs. Something darker had claimed it. Every now and then, hunters would report sighting strange figures in the woods, not quite wolves, not quite human, and at the head of them, a boy with glowing eyes, leading the pack. Duskwind had become their hunting ground, and soon, they would grow bold enough to leave the forest entirely. It was only a matter of time before the rest of the world knew the terror of the wolves. The end, or the beginning.